Louise, a big, warm, cuddly welcome to the show. I'm so happy that you're here.
Hi Faye, it's really, really lovely speaking to you, and thank you for inviting me onto your fab podcast. I'm really excited.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for saying yes. So for those of the listeners who don't know who you are, give us a little insight into you and your business.
So I'm Lou, and I'm 34, nearly 35, and I started Whimsical Wonderland Weddings.com, which is my website, almost 11 years ago. And it's a UK-based wedding blog and a wedding directory. And we're all about inspiring couples to have a fun, happy, stress-free wedding, and to just do their wedding in their own sort of style and really showing off their personality. So that's what I'm all about. I've got 2 little children. I've got a 6-year-old and 11-year-old boys, and I'm married to my husband. So it's been a real journey over the last 11 years, but I'm still here and I'm enjoying it.
How did you come across wedding blogging? Because actually 11 years ago, you started not long after I started my business. I remember you arriving on the scene actually. How did you end up there?
Yeah, well, I was a young mum. I was 23. I'd graduated from uni with a marketing degree, but due to health issues, I never really worked. I was a part-time cleaner, and I wasn't well enough to go and get a proper job. So I had my son, and then went on maternity from my part-time cleaning job. And I was like, I really want to get married now. I want to have the same name as my husband. And we started planning our wedding, but we had a teeny weeny budget, and I just didn't know if it was possible. And me being me, I get really like sucked into something, like whether we're doing a house renovation or something, I'd go all in. So I was like, oh, I'll go on the internet, and I found wedding forums, and this is actually the birthplace of a lot of wedding blogs, was this particular forum. And I discovered the American blogs, because there's some of the American ones were sort of the first wedding blogs, and I was like, oh my god, I love this is awesome. It was really exciting. It's really different from the magazines. Having a different coloured wedding shoe from a white wedding shoe was like controversial 11 years ago. It's quite funny now, but some of the things now that are so normal, back then it was like, oh, wow, this is so new. So I just loved it, and I started to connect on there, and I thought, I think I fancy having a little blog and sharing what I'm finding and enjoying. And I had a lot of time in my hands. I was a bit lonely. I was the first out of my friends to have a baby, and I was at home a lot, and I was like, okay, let's do this. I plucked a name out of the air, to be honest. I think Alice in Wonderland was the film of the year, and I was like, oh, Wonderland, oh, whimsical. And I just sort of threw it together, set up my own blogger blog. Do you remember Blogger?
I do.
Free. It was a free blog. I just made up my own header, started blogging, and I think I joined Twitter, and Twitter was where it was at then. That's where everyone was. And I started making friends, and it was just really lovely making these online friends and finding a community. And I started then approaching photographers to share their weddings, and I started sharing other people's weddings, and it just sort of grew from there, really. So I think a lot of it was timing, but also I put a lot of hours in for the fun of it. It was just the fun and excitement. It was new, and it was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And I was hooked, really.
How amazing. I can only imagine the hours that go into a wedding blog, I have to say. I'm on the other side of it, where I've sent submissions and to various blogs, including yours. In fact, you were one of the first blogs that I was ever featured on.
Oh,
I remember. Yay! And I cannot even imagine the time that goes into it. And of course, for a long time, there would have been no income for you doing all of that hard work.
No, I think I had a photographer, shout out to them because they know who they are. And I remember they first getting in touch with me, and I was like, what? You wanted to give me some money? Oh my God. And I had no money at this point. We were okay, but we didn't have any spare money, and I didn't really have any income because I was on a really rubbish maternity pay probably. So to me, I was like, oh my God, are you sure? Yeah, why not? And then I started having more people coming in. So I don't think I've ever approached someone to advertise. It tends to be they've come to me, especially in the beginning. People were coming to me and I was like, okay, sure. But wasn't a huge amount. And yeah, it definitely wasn't a wage. For a while. I can't put my finger on it, but to me it was all just a big bonus because I didn't really have any income at that time. So it was like, this is great. This is,
Yeah.
going for my
And
food shop or, what have you.
amazing.
But it
The
definitely wasn't a business, I guess.
the I mean, I'm guessing the one thing that kept that going was your passion for it. And
Yeah.
I can't imagine that you could have run that blog as well as you have done and grown it to a stage that it's at without that passion for it.
Oh no. No, there was, there were a lot of hours, and I probably worked I think maybe, I don't know if it's something that a lot of business owners do, but when you start out, you want to work all hours. I'd be on that computer all the time. And as soon as I had an email, I'd be replying in a second. I was so excited. I was like, oh, an email. And they were like, oh my God, you replied so quick. But I love it. I was on it all the time. And my husband used to work shifts, so he used to be on nights. So I can imagine I probably was more likely to then be on the computer those nights. And I think I've always been a romantic. I've always loved a good romantic, weepy film, and I love love stories. So, and I think, do you remember wedding TV? I used to love wedding TV.
Yes, I do.
I used to love, I loved it. I've always, loved the fairy tale, I guess.
Yeah.
I never necessarily imagined it for me, but I love hearing other people's sort of romantic stories and that happiness,
Which
so
makes
I
you the
think
perfect person to run a wedding blog. when you started out there, did you have any idea that it would grow into what it's become?
no, I think I've always wanted my own business, but I never knew what I wanted to do. But I knew I wanted to work for myself, and have that control and freedom. I don't know if that's down to sort of my anxieties or if it's just my personality, but I think I've always had that. And I did a marketing degree, which obviously gave me a lot of sort of skills and knowledge, but I never got to use it until I really started blogs. So I guess I had some background technical sort of knowledge, but no practical sort of knowledge. And I just did it for fun. I thought, when I started getting some of these advertising inquiries, I thought, oh my God, if this could be a career or a business, this would be amazing. But I never would have thought it would last or be a real sort of earner or a wage or anything like that. I kind of just winged it, really. I've never had a business plan as such. It's just been, it kind of grew and I just kind of kept up.
Well, testament to your hard work and your commitment, because things like your blog don't just come about by luck. It's not luck that creates that. It's total and utter commitment.
And I've had in the past that, oh, you're really lucky. And I do see some of it as luck in terms of the timing, because I know that time was sort of when things were sort of kicking off. So I guess maybe other suppliers or couples that are excited by the sort of the online wedding movement might have found me and stuck with me, and that maybe helped me grow. But at the same time, you could say luck, but I think over the years I've realized maybe it's not so much luck as you say, and it is that putting those hours in and the blood, sweat and tears and the learning curves.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything lucky about saying yes to something that was at the early stages not going to pay you any money.
No.
There's not many people that do that.
I remember having comments, why are you doing all this and not getting any money? And I was like, well, I just enjoy it. And
yeah,
I felt at home. I felt like I'd found a place where I was welcomed and accepted. And there's so many really lovely, lovely people in the wedding world, and so supportive. And just through email, it's amazing the relationships that you can make. And I think we're really lucky to be in such a welcoming and happy place.
Wouldn't change it for the world.
No.
For the world. So let's talk about then the submissions that come into the blog.
Yeah.
I didn't even ask how many you get, but it must be a lot.
I don't even know, to be honest. It's just like, oh, lovely, we've got a submission, and I'm just sort of, yeah.
when they land in wherever they land in your inbox, let's say.
Yeah, they come to my inbox.
When you read them, how do you know instantly, oh my gosh, this is for me?
Love it. Yeah. So I will go straight to the images after reading maybe a little snippet. I'll sort of have a look and think, oh yeah, sometimes it's from someone that I sort of know, sometimes it's from a new supplier, but that doesn't really have any impact to me, really. It's about the images and the story. And I think a lot of it, half of it is probably photography style, and the other half is the style of sort of the wedding styling, and if it's a style shoot, that sort of style. And then it's kind of, sometimes it could be to do with a season, whether it's hard, because say if I had a Christmas wedding submitted now, I wouldn't not share it now, because I know couples are planning for Christmas. But in terms of sort of how successful sort of the engagement would be, it would do better at Christmas. So it's kind of a balancing act. I wouldn't necessarily say, oh no, I won't feature it now, because I know couples will be planning those winter weddings now. So it's sometimes having that balance. If someone submitted it in November, sort of October time, I say, oh, it might be a good idea to hold off until Christmas. And I think, great, that's going to do really, really well for them. And I think for me, it's seeing a wedding that isn't necessarily trendy, but just sometimes I can't put my finger on it. It just gives me that vibe that's WWW. I know my readers are going to love it if it's colourful, or it's really showing off a couple's personality. I've done something a bit different, something that people are going to go, wow, we should do that. We could ditch the first dance, or walk down the aisle together. Something that's, got that inspirational sort of element. I think that recently, especially this year, I've really noticed that our followers on Instagram are connecting with the really happy, fun shots of couples. And you probably noticed on my feed, I'm featuring less details recently, because everyone's really connecting to that happiness. I don't know if it's because of the situation, or if it's just because we all love those happy, smiley shots, and we're
all craving them.
Yeah. So I think that's what I'm really looking for at the minute, is those really happy, smiley, fun shots. And modern couples, I guess, maybe less traditional is my kind of style. But I'm the sort of person that loves everything. I love sparkles and rainbows, but I'll love something really pared back and Scandi and modern as well. So I'm very much a person that loves music from that genre, and that, that's just my personality. I love a bit of everything. So I think the blog has always been a bit of everything. That's just kind of me.
The common denominator is that element of fun, and from a supplier perspective, when your blog came on the scene, I think it was really the first time we were seeing colour, which seems a bizarre thing to say now, because weddings have evolved so much in the last 10-15 years.
Well, I remember that it was jam jars and hessian were a new thing when I started, and now it's just laughable, because that's almost traditional now. I think before it was these, like for flowers, it was very much a regimented bouquet of perfectly
very tight bouquet
flowers, and then it went wild and loose, and it was like, wow, that's really new and different. And I think now you see more of a spectrum of style. There's not so much like a set style, and I like that.
I think what happened is that blogs like yours came along and reinforced this idea that people could make a choice, and if they didn't want to have matching bridesmaids, they didn't have to have matching bridesmaids. And if they wanted one every color of the rainbow, they could do that. And it was okay.
I love it.
It was okay to do that. You didn't have to have 4 peach bridesmaids and everything,
coded napkins and
and I think that was an important part in your playing in the industry, was giving people this permission to say, actually you can just make it up and do things the way you want to do it, and make choices that maybe you're not seeing on the other blogs, but you want to do it?
I mean, I don't think I see matchy schemes anymore from couples, and I think hooray, because it must be stressful going around with a collar swatch trying to find everything that matches. And
I did that at my wedding. It's very, very hard to match navies. There are lots of variations of it. It's really, really hard. On that note then, are you seeing, and obviously it's been a funny year, we're recording this in March 2021, are you seeing any, for want of a better expression, trends that are emerging for 2021?
I hate trends. I don't know about you, but I love seeing new things. So we've had like the Moongate flower arch, loved that. We've had pampas grass. They were sort of the key things, haven't they? And sort of tonal ombre, so we've had lots of different trends. But I think I love seeing those new things, and it's really fun and exciting when it's something new. You're like, oh, that's really cool. But I think for me, trends this year, I think it's going to be experience over stuff. I really do. And I think we all have realised, or I have realised, and a lot of us probably realised, that the stuff we have, the cars, the house, the clothes, it really doesn't matter. It's about those relationships. It's about the people around you. And I think that will that will really transfer into weddings. I think when things really kick off, people are going to be focusing on the food and the drink, the entertainment, what things are going to be fun, how are we going to bring everyone together, and maybe in the details be more personal, more personalized, and more thoughtful, rather than how is it going to look. I think that'll still be important, but I think that's really what everyone's going to be looking forward to, isn't it? Is having those hugs, and those, like, for the photographers as well, it's going to be so much nicer that they're going to be able to capture those moments again. And I think it'll be emotional. I think it's really emotional.
Lou, I cry at every single wedding I ever go to, so I'm going to be an absolute wreck. I shot a wedding, so October. I ended up doing 2 last year, which sounds crazy, but the first one was October, and I got in the car afterwards. Amazing couple, Luke and Will. They're having their bigger wedding later on this year. And I got in the car at the end, and I just cried for about half an hour. I gave myself a headache, because it was just, I don't know if it was relief, or it was seeing people happy again, or just
being around people.
It was just overwhelmingly amazing.
It's inspirational. I think, the couples that have really ploughed through and said, you know what, we're going to do this, and go get for it, because what matters to us is our relationship, our marriage, and getting on with life. And that is really heartwarming, isn't it? It's really wonderful. And I'm loving featuring the couples that have got married in the past 12 months, because to me that is just really special, that and they can still have that fantastic reception as well, and I think they're going to have an awesome party, aren't they? So it is really special, and hearing what they've been through, and the resounding message is, it made us realize what was important. And I think that's what a lot of us have learned with our lives, is how you bring yourself back to that starting point of what's important in my life, and it is the people around us.
I think you're absolutely right. Absolutely. The second wedding that I shot, which was in November, my couple Nora and Connor, I mean, they were on attempt, I don't know, 5 by the time they got married, and they'd actually decided to go for January 2021. That was becoming completely off the cards. I got a phone call on the Monday, Faye, we're just going to do it, and it's just going to be the 2 of us, 2 witnesses, and you. Are you in? I was like, yes, I'm in. Try and stop me. And again, completely, like, just so emotional, so amazing, doing it for all the right reasons. So
I'm sure they'll have an amazing celebration when they're able to, and hopefully jet off somewhere beautiful as well. And you know what, I think it's extending the fun in a way, isn't it? It's prolonging it even more. That newlywed bubble is going to be going on for even longer, and why not have the hen party and the stag party after the wedding? I mean, why not?
I know. I think you're going to see a lot of submissions coming your way, because people have sort of relinquished the control of it being just so. And I think you're absolutely right. The thing we're going to see so much of is experience.
Yeah. And bring it on, I think, because that's what really matters, and that's what it's about. If you're starting your wedding and your marriage in that mindset, I mean, that's how you've got to be a positive thing.
Absolutely.
And everyone's going to be talking about your wedding for years, I think. You know, getting married in this sort of time, and it's a story for generations to come.
Yeah.
Like, I always think of wartime weddings and how romantic it was, and you know what my grandparents did, and it was a small wedding, and maybe you do it at the village hall, and that was just special in itself, wasn't it? And I think we're obviously pairing ourselves or pairing back to sort of that simple life, and I hope some of it stays for the long term. I think I've learned a lot of lessons this year,
Absolutely.
and I hope I sort of keep them with me as we move hopefully onto normal times.
I'm crossing my fingers.
But I'm really excited. I really am. I think it's going to be really, really good. I think it's going to be awesome. There's a lot of positivity and a lot of excitement, and I think everyone's going to be going wild when they can.
Well, I was saying to my mum the other day when she was asking about weddings and when they're coming back, and I was saying to her, it's like the perfect solution. It's the perfect antidote to lockdown life is a wedding, because you get to see people that you haven't seen for ages. You get to dance and party. You get to eat great food, experience something that you haven't experienced for a long, long time. Who doesn't want a slice of that?
Yeah. And all the stuff that normally you'd like maybe moan about at a wedding, you're not going to care. You're just going to be so excited, you know, like, you know, dodgy dancing or, you know, something not being quite right. You're just going to embrace it, aren't you? You're going to just love it. You know, I think everyone's just going to be so happy to be together that it's just going to be such a positive experience, and
bring it on.
Yeah, exactly.
Lou, when I'm just going to come back to something you said earlier, and that was the idea of the story. So when you receive submissions, I get that there's this connection with the photography style and then the style of the wedding. I've always really tried to tune into the story of a couple, what their, you know, what their desires are, what their likes are, how they met, you know, the things they share in common, the bugbears about each other. Is it the story part that really helps reinforce a good submission?
I think so, but I think over the years, I think blogs maybe haven't shared such long stories. I think the way we view content has changed. There's so much content. It depends on the user, I think, as how much they're going to read and how much they are investing in the whole blog feature, or if they're just scrolling through imagery. I think we're so visual now, aren't we?
Yeah.
With Pinterest and the social and Instagram, whereas Facebook and Twitter were text based, we've gone much more visual. So I think the visuals are more important. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'm happy with that. In terms of, for me, I love the story, but I also know that a lot of people are looking for the inspirational images. So I think the story is important, especially a story that is maybe slightly unusual or has had challenges, and so someone could connect to that, because I think that's something that will help someone. I'll explain more, because I've had anxiety. So I had a cancelled wedding. We cancelled our wedding when I first started the blog 10 years ago due to having panic attacks. So when I was looking for sort of a connection with other people maybe that have gone through this, I couldn't really find anything in a magazine that said, oh, you've got a tiny budget, or oh, you've got anxiety. I felt weird. So for me, those stories, I want to reassure our readers that, oh, the proposal didn't go to plan. It's quite funny. And you know what? I used to think, oh, I kind of messed up the proposal with my husband, because I was like, oh, do I have to sit on this bench? And he was like, yes, you do. I was like, oh no, it's the proposal, you know. And then I was like, oh God, be safe. I can't tell people that. It's really embarrassing. But the amount of stories that I share where people will say, oh, it went a bit wrong. And, you know, people put on this polished sort of front. And I think over the years, people have become more honest and true with their stories. And that imperfection is a part of it and is funny or engaging. And it's reassuring, if someone has anxiety and they mention it in the story, I really value and really appreciate their honesty, because I know someone might be feeling that way, will read it and connect with that and think, oh, phew, I'm not the only one. So that's really important to me, because I've been there. And that's why that's why I do what I do, because I don't want anyone to feel alone if they're feeling like that. I want them to come to the blog and find that connection and that support.
That's
So
so
those
powerful.
stories, I think, are important. And I ask for memorable moments. So I like hearing the ones that maybe actually it rained and we had an outdoor wedding, and a lot of time the couples put that in there and say, but it made it so memorable and I wouldn't change it. Because everyone, I don't know for everyone, but a lot of couples have that pressure that it has to be perfect. And I think when you look back at these wedding reports, the imperfect things that go wrong, the bloopers, are actually some of the funniest and the most memorable parts, and make a wedding what it is. So I think I really want our readers to feel that, if things go wrong, that is actually an important part of your wedding. It's not a disaster.
I think that's such an important thing to share, Lou. I really do, because you're right. And this goes for us as business owners as well as our couples planning a wedding, because it's so easy to look out of your bubble and just see perfection everywhere.
Yeah, I'm guilty of this, completely guilty of this myself.
Yeah,
it's really hard to stay in your own lane, I guess, and not have any negativity. And I think having sort of a large following, I feel afraid of getting it wrong or having that negative feedback. And it's really trying to take a step back and try and be confident in yourself. And that's something I struggle with. And it's hard, but I think you've just got to keep pushing through and find places of positivity. This is where your business club really comes into its own, because you can connect with other suppliers and be like, oh, it's not just me. Or, and everyone feels those insecurities, but they just don't necessarily voice it. It's finding that tribe, isn't it, of people that are on it, open and honest, and will share their sort of ups and downs.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely on the money, because and I think this goes for everyone, whether you've been in business 5 minutes, 5 years, or 50 years. We're all actually experiencing that same thing to a more or lesser degree than the next person. But because we live in and exist in this amazing industry that is so buoyant with content, we see stuff all the time. It's like you just open your eyes and it's there, isn't it? All laid out for us, which is one of the strengths of the industry, but it can also be a trigger for the darker side
Overwhelm,
of things.
Yeah. I think it's, if it's too much, don't look at it. And it's easy to say, but you've got to make a conscious effort to say, I'm not going to be on Instagram all day, every day, or at the weekend. And I probably should be, but I know for my own mental well-being that I need that time to switch off. And that's been a learning curve for me. Like I said earlier, that when I first started, I was on that computer all the time. Had my notifications on for my emails and everything. And every time something popped in, I was there. Yeah. And I've had to take a step back and say, I'm not going to be there at the weekend. I'm not going to be there when after school, maybe. I've gone a bit out the window recently, but you've got to have some sort of boundary, haven't you? And if you I have a separate Instagram account, a personal one. I end up never using it because I end up just not going on there, but I have that with my family and friends on there, random stuff, like whether it's interiors or what have you. And I know I can go on there and it won't be wedding, because I think you need a bit of separation sometimes. And like you say, it can be all consuming and it's fun, but sometimes you need a degree of separation, I think, for your own space, for your own mental sort of health. And I would recommend doing that. Like for Pinterest as well, I have a separate one for just, I don't know, garden design or whatever I want to do on there that's nothing to do with weddings, because I don't want it all popping up when I'm chilled out. Otherwise I'll go into wedding mode and I'll get completely sidetracked. So I think to a degree it's good to have a bit of, for me, I find it's good to have a bit of separation.
I would agree totally. What's your advice to someone who's just starting out in the wedding industry? What's your golden nugget of information that you would share with them?
Oh, I think choose something you absolutely love, that you're going to live and breathe, and you're just so excited by. Because if you've got that as your sort of foundation, then you're going to be wanting to work on it. You're going to want to be involved in it. You're going to want to put everything into it, and then that will come across to whether it's the industry or to your clients, and also network. Um, and I think back, and I've had to contact so many photographers who I've never spoken to via email and say, "Can I speak to your work, please?" And sometimes it's nerve-wracking, and you think, "Oh, am I annoying? Am I bugging people? Are they don't think I'm not good enough?" And I have those doubts, and you just do it, and the more you do it, the easier it is. And if someone doesn't get back to you, you don't really think about it anymore. Maybe I would have obsessed over it at the beginning, but now it's kind of second nature. So put yourself out there and network, but don't give up. you know if you submit to a blog, don't give up. Try again. Don't take it personally. Saying no is the thing I absolutely hate the most. That is the worst part for me, because I'm such a people pleaser. So if I say no to someone, I'm like, oh, I hate it. But I know every time I say no, I'm saying yes to the blog, because I'm giving, in my mind, my readers what they want to see. And also for those suppliers and the couples I'm featuring, I want them to get as great a reception as possible. Because if I put something up and they weren't getting the likes that someone would expect, I'd feel bad as well. Because I think it's hard, we're living in this world of likes, isn't it? But it's such a visual thing for everyone. So if someone only got a few likes on something, I'd be like, oh. So it kind of works both ways. I want to get the most out of the features and the social posts for the couple and the suppliers, as well as for my readers. So don't give up if it's a no. Try again. And there are so many different publications out there that there is always going to be one for you. So network on social media, connect personally with people, email them. It can make someone's day when they get a lovely little email pop up in their inbox saying, hello, I love what you do. You don't have to meet up in person. Obviously we can't at the minute, but do you fancy having a coffee break on Skype and just get to know someone? And I think that's where you start building that network of people. And especially when you're a supplier, making those connections, and they can help with sort of inquiries or maybe planning styled shoots, things like that. Your name will be in their mind, and they'll be getting in touch with you. So I think that is a really good solid place to start. Maybe not focusing on, I need this many followers on whatever social channel, but actually build real connections with people, make some friends, and sort of enjoy that sort of side of it.
Amazing, brilliant advice. I love that. I feel like I could talk to you all day, but I have one more question. You are a member of the Wedding Business Club. Tell me about Tell me about your experience so far.
I found, well, you sent me your book, and I just took it all in. I really loved it, and I was making notes, and I was highlighting everything, and I was like, I need this. I think being a solo CEO, I don't know what the phrase is, when you're on, because I'm not a sole trader, so I don't know what the terminology is, but when you're on your own in a business, it is lonely. And I do talk to my husband, but there's only so much he can sort of connect with. He's in a completely different industry. So having sort of the advice from you and the community of the club, you feel like you've got that support and that sounding board, and it's nice to be able to support other people as well when they have questions, because you feel like you've helped someone, and that's always really nice as well. But I think, like with your book and with your course, it's really great to really work on those core parts of my business. So I've never really had a business plan, and I felt like Faye's told me off, right, you need to sit down, you need to go through this business plan, and actually get real here and stop winging it. And I think I'm working in the business too much. I need to be working on the business.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the Wedding Business Club really makes you focus on.
Amazing. Oh, thanks for that, Lou.
So thank you for having me.
Oh no, honestly, it's a pleasure. And just talking to you today, I mean, I'm sure the people listening can hear this as well. You are clearly a very kind, empathic, warm person, and I think that makes all the difference.
Oh, you're gonna make me cry. Thank you.
But I really can just, I knew it anyway, but now we're talking about it. I feel called to tell you that you know, what you've achieved is absolutely phenomenal, and it doesn't happen by luck or by accident. It takes blooming hard work and commitment. And the fact that you do it with such grace and care and kindness is incredible. So well done, you.
Oh, thank you. And also on that note, if I can do it, honestly, anyone can do it. If you've got the right support there, like I was going to say that when I started, there wasn't the courses and the coaching and the knowledge out there, and there is now, and you can find your way, and it's never too late. Just go for your dreams, and enjoy being in this fantastic industry. It's really lovely, and if you pop over and say hi, I'd love to hear from you. And I can't thank you enough, Faye, for all the help and support in the club, and with your book. It's really invaluable.
Oh, you're welcome, and thank you for your insight and your time today. It's been amazing.
No,
Thanks,
lovely.
Lou.
It's really lovely.
Oh, thank you, Lou.
Thank you. Take care.